please take a seat. So good afternoon to you all. It's fantastic to see so many people here. I think that speaks volumes. My name's Ruth. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you all as we gather to remember and most definitely to celebrate the life of Michaela Brown, also known to some of you as Mick or Mitch, so I'm going to vary that as we go along. Now I'm sure for everybody here, even hearing those words, it's surreal. This is an untimely gathering. Michaela was only 49. We shouldn't be standing here today talking about her as having been. She was beautiful, vibrant, intelligent, funny and kind. And you know, when somebody's such a tour de force, it's easy to forget that they're also a vulnerable human being like the rest of us. But yet we find ourselves here dealing with the sad reality of her loss. So how does anybody even begin to cope? The answer is that we move together into the moment. We don't look forward or back. I think it's best if we just focus on now. Don't be afraid to hold hands, breathe deeply, and together everybody will help each other through the day. Touch and love and care for each other is the way to cope right now. And also remembering to balance things out by sharing each other's happy memories, of which there are so many. Michaela was a kind person, a wonderful daughter, sister, partner and friend. And I'm sure that she would advise everybody here to tell her stories and to smile and to remember those good times. These will see you all through the darkest of times, which is how it should be. Such a lovely lady should not be remembered long term with tears, although there's no crime in expressing your emotions as they arise. It's part of a long healing process, and that begins today by acknowledging her life, which is well lived, in an appropriate and fitting manner. I'll be doing some of the speaking and the linking role today, but although it's my voice, the words are those of her family and friends. They had so much to tell me when I went to visit, and it was a joy. And they wanted to ensure this was a really personal goodbye to Michaela, full of music that she loved and personal references and stories. So to begin, I'm going to introduce the first of our speakers. Michaela shared a house with her friend Gail in Acox Green many years ago. In due course, Michaela took on the role of Mad Aunt to her two daughters, Sean and Imogen, who adored her. So they're going to come up and read from the Jabberwocky for us.
"'Twas brillig, and the slidey toves did gyre and gimble in the wave, or mimsy were the borogoves, and the moonrings outgrave.
Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch.
He took his vorpal blade in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought.
And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffing through the toggy wood, and burbled as it came.
1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back.
And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh, Calais! He chortled in his joy.
'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave, or mimsy were the borogoves, and the moon rats outgrave.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, that was brilliantly read. And now we're going to hear from Gail herself. Thank you, Gail. Let me just watch that step. Thank you.
This is from Good Omens. Sunday, the first day of the rest of the world, and round 11:30, St James's Park was comparatively quiet. The park was deserted except for a member of MI9 trying to recruit someone who, to their later mutual embarrassment, would turn out to also be a member of MI9 and a tall man feeding the ducks. And there were also Crowley and Aziraphale. They strolled side by side across the grass. Crowley gave him a sideways look. "Your people being in touch?" he said. "No." "Yours?" "No." pretending it didn't happen. Mine too, I suppose. That's bureaucracy for you. And I think mine are waiting to see what happens next, said Aziraphale. Crowley nodded. A breathing space, he said. A chance to morally rearm, get the defences up, ready for the big one. They stood by the pool, watching the ducks scrabble for the bread. Sorry, said Aziraphale, I thought that was the big one. I'm not sure, said Crowley. Think about it. For my money, the really big one will be all of us against all of them. What, you mean heaven and hell against humanity? I don't know. You can never be certain about what's really intended, plans within plans. Sorry, said Aziraphale. Well, said Crowley, who'd been thinking about this until his head ached, haven't you ever wondered about it all? You know, your people and my people, heaven and hell, good and evil, all that sort of thing. I mean, why? As I recall, said the angel stiffly, there was a rebellion and, oh yes, and why did it happen, eh? I mean, it didn't have to, did it? Said Crowley, a manic look in his eye. Anyone who could build a universe in 6 days isn't going to let a little thing like that happen, unless they want it to, of course. Oh, come on, be sensible, said Aziraphale doubtfully. That's not good advice, said Crowley. That's not good advice at all. If you sit down and think about it sensibly, you come up with some funny ideas, like why make people inquisitive and then put forbidden fruit where they can see it, with a big neon finger flashing on and off saying, this is it. I don't remember any neon. Metaphorically, I mean, why do all that if you really don't want to eat it, eh? I mean, maybe you just want to see how it all turns out. Maybe it's all part of a great big ineffable plan. All of it, you, me, him, everything. Some great big test to see if what you've built all works properly, eh? You start thinking, it can't be a great cosmic game of chess. It has to be just very complicated solitaire. And don't bother to answer. If we could understand, it wouldn't be us, because it's all ineffable, said the figure feeding the ducks. Yeah, right, thanks. Crowley shook his head. What was I saying? He said. I don't know, said Aziraphale. Nothing very important, I think. Let me tempt you to some lunch, Crowley hissed. They went to the Ritz again, where a table was mysteriously vacant, and perhaps the recent exertions had some fallout in the nature of reality because, while they were eating, for the first time ever, a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. No one heard it over the sound of the traffic, but it was there, right enough. And a final word from Star Trek. Next gen, for each of us who here have come to say farewell. Seize the time, live now. Make now always the most precious time. Now will never come.
Well done, Gav, thank you. So I'm going to take a broad look now at Michaela's life story. There could be no better start in life than to grow up being loved and cared for. It allows somebody to reach adulthood as a balanced and happy individual. And that was certainly the case for Mitch. And although her mum and dad, Pauline and Peter, separated in her teens, she was never in doubt what a precious daughter she was to them both. Her stepfather Philip also became a good friend in time too. Mitch also had her older brother Andrew, on who she practised her punches, until they realised that they had quite a lot in common and they decided to get on instead. This grew into a very close relationship as adults, even going on to work in the same field of fan conventions in later years. Michaela arrived in 1969, the year of the moon landing, which was very fortuitous for a girl that grew up to be so interested in the stars that her dad bought her a telescope, and hence why so many of you are wearing stars today. She had many other interests too, and because Will is going to talk about these shortly, I'm not going to double up. But what definitely deserves a mention is Michaela's approach to life. Although she did shine academically at school, especially in English Lit, I mean, how many pupils would skive off from school to go and watch Shakespeare? She chose not to follow an academic route after school. Mitch chose instead to do work she liked, some of it temporary, some of it longer term, but always with the intention that she would make it work for her. And that way she could earn money to fund the things that she wanted to do in life, rather than become a downtrodden wage slave. So over the years, she's done everything from working as a doctor's receptionist to working at the Snowdome. She went off to Butlins at Minehead when she was young, and then to Fort William. Later on, she worked at O'Neill's in Exeter, where she stayed with her best friend Sandra and her mum Sarah. Mitch's mum Pauline admitted that it hurt when her daughter moved away, but she wanted Mitch to push her own limits and gain as much experience and do whatever she wanted in life. And nobody could say Mitch hasn't lived to the full. And besides, Mitch always returned ready for another adventure, like working at Magical Story in Solihull or Blockbusters, or the many fan conventions as guest liaison, which she often said was like herding cats. Although Mitch never married or had children, she was fortunate enough to find her perfect partner in Will, both quirky individuals bound by a love of sci-fi, reading, films, music and each other. Initially she agonised over the 7-year age gap, but her mum Pauline posed the question, we could all go by this adage, is he right for you? Then get in there. And in their almost 10 years together, they've made countless wonderful memories, with a particularly special one being of her 40th, where they walked and read and whisky tasted in Scotland. Now, there should have been so many more years to cover, but sadly, we have to draw her story to a close here. But I'd encourage everybody to live their lives to the full as Mitch did, and to remember her as the smiling, beautiful lady that she was. I'm going to end on a quote by one of her favourite authors, Terry Pratchett. He said, "No one is finally dead until the ripples they cause in the world die away." I think it's safe to say nobody here will easily forget the kind, quirky, colourful character that was Mitch. And now for some truly beautiful words, I'm going to ask Will to come up.
She's brought the sun out and I put it on shiny paper. This will be fun. I've entitled this, Michaela Loved. Michaela loved. She may not have, some may not have realised the passion she had. When people first met her, she could seem shy and standoffish. Once you got to know her, or touch on a subject she cared about, you could see that her passions run deep, and she was a lady who loved. Time permitting, here are a few of those loves. Michaela loved her family. Shopping trips with her mum, Pauline, coffee, decaf, and cake. Another pair of her loves, I could go on about those for some time. Visits with her dad, reminiscing, keeping him updated on her life, regaling me with stories of conventions of Andrew, her brother. They are in a much better position to cover these memories. I would not do them justice, so if you join us after this, do let them tell you a tale or two. This leads me to Michaela loved stories. Long talks with colleagues and friends. A close friend who could not make it today, I had some conversations with herself. She would like me to mention a few stories. Getting into trouble at Girl Guides for teaching them how to play poker. Carrying an after-AIDS wrapper in her school blazer pocket so she could smell it. Never letting go of the fact, which Shine Imogen would back me up on, that her friend dropped one of her Narnia books in the bath. I don't think anyone got another book off her after that. Most of all, brutal honesty, fierce love. Thank you, Sarah.
So sorry.
It's mobile phones, it happens, don't worry. She would have understood. It's alright. So, continuing with the story theme, now I've done a little digression. The other things that gave her great stories were TV. So this would be Game of Thrones, Castle, Fringe. Last week tonight, Doctor Who, BSG, Star Trek, DS9, TNG, TOS, Discovery. I won't mention Enterprise. Babylon 5. Not allowed to wear this jacket. Console games. Silent Hill. Resident Evil. A Tick Attack. And the Lego games. With me and her, side by side. Couch co-op. Board games. All of the Legacy games. All of the Arkham games. Carcassonne. Dead of Winter. Agricola. Books. How long have we got? Where can I even start? So many books. Theatre, musicals, but her true love, not me, film. Renting video nasties before the Film Certification Act was passed. Her perfect job, blockbusters. How much entertainment she must have supplied to others over the years, heartbroken, when it finally all came to an end. She continued to be a Blockbuster employee, always recommending films to others. Her assistant manager badge is with her now. Film leads to Michaela loved quoting stuff. Here is the interactive part. I'll start a few quotes. Shout out the rest if you know them. If you don't worry, you should understand, it's not to everyone's taste. So, I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It is the only way to be sure, indeed. Excellent. Easy, miss. I've got you. You've got me. Superman, thank you. You've got... Shaun the Dead. Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die. Finally, of my friend, I can only say this. Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, his was the most human. From Star Trek to Michaela loved the heavens, looking up at the stars in the night sky in awe. Our own sun, attending the eclipse in August 1999 with Matt and Sandra, gazing at cloud formations and the way the sunset would light them up. Snow, so many pictures of snow on her phone whenever there was any snow, reels of it. The majesty of a thunderstorm, standing in the back garden with me under an umbrella in the pouring rain, with a look of anticipation on her face, waiting for the next strike. From rain to Michaela loved the ocean. Any chance she had, far too few in her opinion. She would roll up her trousers, stand in the surf, never further, as she could not swim. She always told me that it was a control issue. Michaela with a control issue? Surely not. Giving up control over something that covers 2/3 of the planet was just something she was not happy with. Pauline tells me when she was really young, she would be fine in the water, as long as she had someone to hold on to. The moment she was let go of, even with floods of tears. Who else makes us cry? Michaela loved friends. Gail, Sean, and Imogen, so much more than friends. Those that lived further afield. Antonia, Sandra, and of course Sarah and her family. Words are not enough. Work colleagues who met her standards and progressed to friendship. Friends through conventions, LARPing, board gaming, shared memories and experiences, creating their own stories. I'm looking forward to hearing all your recollections later. Share them between yourselves too. As you are here, then you have common ground with everyone else here. Share and make new memories for her, but don't prevaricate. Because Michaela loved timeliness and glitter, punctuation and grammar and English. See what I did there? Shoes and handbags. The environment. Animals. Toots, Brad, Perry, Frankie, Harriet, Diamond. Jadzia, and my beautiful Taffy. Purpose in life. Good food. And good drink. To name but a few more. I could also talk so much further on games, books, film, friends, family, but I also know she would not want me to run over time. So, finally, Michaela loved me. I know this mostly from her actions. I could make her smile. Sometimes, not with the dad jokes. At the start of our relationship, I would include in my present slips of paper with kisses on, one for every day we were together, and origami of things she loves. She also shared 10 wonderful years with me. She did actually say a few times that she loved me too. In fact, her final words spoken to me were, "I love you too." She also loved all of you for sharing her life. Remember her fondly. Honey, one final kiss.
That was wonderful, thank you. Makes me smile. She was definitely very different, wasn't she? You don't find people like this. And when you were saying DS9, TNG, TOS, to people like me, squares like me, that's just postcodes. That was fabulous.
She would forgive you.
I think I'd have liked her very much. So now it's time to take a few moments of quiet reflection, or offer up a prayer if you feel that's more appropriate. Michaela attended WOMAD Festival some years ago with Sandra and Sarah, and she saw this band there and she absolutely loved them, so it seemed like an appropriate choice for music. This is Ecuador by Cello Man. And now we've got a final reading from Lord of the Rings by Chris and Will.
I feel like I should be on stage and you shouldn't.
I'll get on the knees.
You go, no, you speak down there, that's fine. Okay.
I didn't think it would end this way.
End? No. The journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path. One that we all must take. The grey rain curtain of this world rolls back, and all turns to silver glass. And then you see it.
What, Gandalf? See what?
White shores, and beyond, a far green country under a swift sunrise.
That isn't so bad.
No. No, it isn't.
Thank you so much. So now comes the time that we have to say our goodbyes. I'm sure that some of you will say it's forever, and others maybe believe it's until we meet in a better time and place. But whatever your personal beliefs, it's important to remember this is just Michaela's body that we're committing today. It's not her personality, it's not her soul or her spirit, and it's certainly not all the beautiful memories that we've shared. These are yours to treasure forever. Would you all now please stand for the committal? Michaela, may the light of love shine forth upon you, on those for whom you care and on those who care for you. May you be ever blessed with peace and understanding. In grief at your death, but in gratitude for your life and the privilege of sharing it with you, we thank you. To everything there is a season and a time. To every person on earth a time to be born and a time to die. Here in this last act, in sorrow but without fear, in love and appreciation, we commit Michaela's body to be cremated. May she rest in peace. Amen. Thank you. Please take a seat again. Death is often a spur to face what we need to face in our own lives, to be purposeful and kind, knowing we're all limited and part of one humanity. But in all nature, after death comes renewal. May you feel inspired and hopeful, renewed by your memories of Michaela and for having shared in her life. And of course, everybody's invited back to the globe to continue sharing those memories. I'd also like to point out that donations, if you feel inclined, will be split between the Good Hope and the Glenfields Hospital Intensive Care Units, which gave Michaela such good care when she was there. And so on to one final piece of music. It's bittersweet and it's beautiful, and it's been chosen because it's full of references to the sea and rivers and the stars, all things that Michaela loved. Thank you everybody for coming to pay your respects to Michaela today. Thank you.
calling, and I must away over hill and under tree, through lands where never light is shone, by silver streams that run down to the sea. Under cloud, beneath the stars, over snow on winter's morn, I turn at last to paths that lead home. And oh, where the road then takes me, I cannot tell. We came all this way, but now comes the day to bid you farewell. Many places I have been, many sorrows I have seen, but I don't regret, nor will I forget all who took that road with me. Night is now falling, so ends this day. The road is now calling, and I must away over hill and under tree, through lands where never light is shone, by silver streams that run down to the sea. To these memories I will hold, with your blessing I will go, to turn at last to paths that lead home. And oh, where the road then takes me, I cannot tell. We came all this way, but now comes the day to bid you farewell. I bid you all a very fond farewell.